A meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll start with introductions. I'm Dale Stein, Chair. Erica?
Erica Goodman, voting member.
Dave?
Dave Brass, Vice Chair, voting member.
Darren Hickling, voting member.
Scott?
Ryan, NYACD, voting member.
Over to you, Brian.
Okay, I'll go through our advisory first, organizations, and then I'll go through a staff roll call. Anyone in from Ag and Market? I noticed Jeff Kehoe's name on the list. Is Jeff with us? Okay, we'll come back to that. Anyone on from Cornell Cal?
I'm here for Cal.
Okay, great. Can you just state your name real quick?
For Val Schul, I'm here for Brian Ram. I also work at the New York State Water Resources Institute.
Wonderful. Val, thank you. Welcome.
I'm here, Brian. Sorry, Brian.
Jeff.
This is Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning. No worries. Let me just introduce Jeff Kehoe to this group real quick, if I could. I mentioned a couple of meetings ago that Tim Sweeney has taken in new occupations at the Department of Ag and Markets, and unfortunately, that has taken him away from engaging with the State Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee. Jeff Kehoe is with our Division of Land and Water Resources in the Ag Protection Unit, and Jeff is going to be working with us at the Technical Advisory Committee level, reviewing and scoring applications for Ag Non-Point and CRF, and I welcome Jeff Kehoe to this meeting today.
Thanks, Brian.
Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Yeah, Beth Claypool is here.
Good morning, Beth. CDEA.
Yes, Dustin is here.
Hello, Dustin.
Hello.
How about DEC?
Hello,
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning, Asim Kumar, DEC, Division of Water.
Good morning, Asim.
And Brian Ellis from Division of Lands and Forests.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Thank you both for joining.
Hi, got one more from DEC. This is Jessica Fowler from Office of Climate Change.
Hello, Jessica. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else from DEC? Okay, Department of Health.
Morning, Brian. This is Paul Kazmarzik. Morgan is on another call this morning, so she is not able to join us today.
Great, welcome, Paul. Department of State.
Morning, this is Stephanie with the Department of State Office of Planning, Development, and Community Infrastructure.
That's a pretty long office name there.
Yes, it is.
Welcome, thank you.
My name is Kate Hogel, also from Department of State. Same acronym or same long name.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. Good morning, Stephanie and Kate. SUNY ESF. And Blake Glover sends his regrets. He has got another meeting this morning, but is there anyone else from USDA on the line? Okay. We'll run through a staff roll call. Victor?
Morning, Brian. Vic DiGiacomo, State Committee Field Staff for Western New York.
Welcome, Vic. Good morning. PJ?
Hi, good morning, everybody. PJ Emmerich, Regional Coordinator for Central New York and the Finger Lakes region.
Good morning, PJ. Welcome. Scott Bickbaum. I believe Scott is attending another meeting today. Ryan Cunningham is filling in and attending the Lake Champlain steering committee, so Ryan won't be with us either. Ron Bush.
Morning, Brian. Ron Bush, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Good morning, Ron. Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist with the State Committee.
Good morning, Brendan. Let's see, Greg Albrecht is also attending another meeting. There's a soil health statewide meeting today in Canandaigua, and he is attending that, so Greg won't be with us. How about Jennifer Clifford?
Good morning, Jennifer Clifford, Climate Resilient Farming Program Manager.
Good morning, Jennifer. Ben Luskin.
Good morning. Ben Luskin, Regional Coordinator for the Hudson Valley and Long Island region.
Morning, Ben. Lauren Pizorski. Bethany Bizdu.
Good morning, everyone. This is Bethany Bizdu. I'm a program manager with the State Committee.
Good morning, Bethany. Tim Clark.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. I am Tim Clark, an engineer for the State Committee.
Good morning, Tim. Abigail Edwards.
Good morning, everyone. Abigail Edwards, Excelsior Fellow for the State Committee.
All right. Am I missing any advisory members or staff? Okay. Well, and I also acknowledge and welcome all of our district guests today and all of our members of the public today as well. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go through the entire roll call of everybody attending, but there will be time at the end of the meeting for anyone to provide comment or ask questions of the committee. So again, welcome everybody. Dale, back to you.
Thanks, Brian. Review and approve minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections? Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
The second, we'll go to voting. Erica?
Aye.
Dave? Can't hear you, Dave. Aaron?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Approved. We might have lost Dave. I'll do some checking on that.
No, aye.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
We got back out of it.
Thank you. Minutes approved. Correspondence and budget update, Brian.
Sure. So I don't have any official correspondence today. We will be following up on the correspondence that we received last month's meeting. I will give a staff update. We are working with the department on recruitment of a couple of key positions in our division. One is an administrative assistant position. We are going to be recanvassing that position and hopes that we get some good qualified candidates to come into the division to give us some much needed administrative assistance. We also conducted interviews for 2 senior environmental analyst positions, one for a program analyst position that was formerly held by Jason Coquino, so the position that does all of the data management, program analysis, and GIS work for our division. We are close to hopefully backfilling that position, so stay tuned. I should have more to come at the next month's meeting. We also conducted interviews for a position primarily responsible for ag protection programming for the division as well. So all of that will hopefully make our jobs a little easier in getting the backfills that we much need. And with that, hopefully there will be some additional staff resources coming down the line with a new budget. That is also something that we're keeping a close eye on. Moving into the budget update, I have not yet been able to put out anything to our partners or soil and water districts and state committee partners yet. Still waiting for the full analysis to come through our fiscal management office. But I can report that the budget was passed, I believe it was on Friday or late Thursday night or early Friday morning. I'm not exactly sure when. but we do have a full EPF budget breakdown, which I will share some line items with everybody here today. And by the time we put these meeting correspondence into the minutes, we should have a full breakdown for everybody. If you recall, the proposed budget for the EPF was raised from $300 million to $400 million. So that was a major increase and the first in many years proposed by Governor. Within that, all of the line items that we administer as a state committee and or districts implement either through our office or through DEC also are poised for increases. Starting with the Ag Non-Point program, that was proposed at $20 million by the executive, by the governor, and it was enacted at $20 million. There are a couple of carve-outs to mention: Cornell Ipm program, Suffolk County Cornell Cooperative Extension Nutrient Management, and the Cornell Pesticide Management Education Program. Those have existed in the budget for a number of years now, so those are not new carve-outs. The one new element was the Cornell Ipm Pest Management Program was increased from $1 million to $2 million. So it does mean that the Ag Non-Point program net increase was approximately $1 million. Again, just as a reminder to everybody, we support both the competitive Ag Non-Point rounds of funding with that, as well as the AIM-based program. Moving down the list here, we have the Oceans and Great Lakes Initiative that was proposed at $22 million and was approved at $22.5. And that is what funds our EBM program. And that is funding that is allocated to different agencies and administered through those agencies. Lauren Brzezowski is our EBM program manager and has provided updates to this committee on those programs in the past. Very popular, smaller grant proposals and projects, but have become, very much expected and needed in various parts of the state. So we're excited to see an increase there. Water Quality Improvement Program. Last year it was enacted at $18 million. It was proposed at $25 million by the governor, and it was approved at $22 million. So that experienced an increase as well. Many of our soil and water districts implement projects and programs through that DEC Water Quality Improvement Program. Big news here, soil and water districts, our district aid. Last year was at $11 million. It was proposed by the governor at $15 million, and it was approved at $14.5. So saw a slight decrease from the proposed amount, but still represents a major increase in district aid funding. And, we've sketched out what that means per district. Probably a little too early to tell right now here verbally, but, we're looking at that very closely, and that is the line item that really does help support district capacity. So we're very excited to see that increase. That's major. And Waterfront Revitalization Program, up from $14.1 million last year to $16.5. So again, a lot of districts participate in those programs and contribute to those watershed management plans under that program. And let's see here. The big news as well from this budget, Climate Resilient Farms, the Climate Resilient Farming Program, up from $4.5 million last year with a $200,000 sub-allocation of the Cornell Soil Health Program to $16.75 million and a $500,000 sub-allocation of Cornell Soil Health Program. So that's pretty close to the 17.5 that was proposed by the governor. Really happy to see a major increase in the Climate Resilient Farming Program. That program has been identified as a key program to expand to help the state meet its Climate Act targets, specifically related to ag emissions and sequestration capacity. So big budget for the state of New York. Certainly the healthiest and largest budget for agriculture and conservation efforts in our history. So the work will begin on all of this or continue as we expand programs and look into the future here. So big news, and certainly glad to report it here. And like I said, we should have full breakdown documentation for the minutes, and probably in your inboxes, your emails sooner than that, as soon as that full analysis is done.
Thanks, Brian. Very big news. CRF, that is definitely a step up, a very large step up. Hopefully we can convince enough farmers to participate so we have plenty of subscription to the program. Next is Ag Non-Point Source with Bethany.
Thank you, Dale. So I will start with a program status. To date, this year, we have completed 19 contract closeouts. One contract has been canceled, and we have an additional 6 closeout packets that are currently being reviewed, at our office and are going through the process. On average, we close approximately 45 contracts in an entire year. And in this year, we've already gotten to about the halfway mark, and it's only April. So I wanted to mention that and recognize the incredible workload that districts and regional staff have been doing to get these contracts closed out. Closing out an Ag Non-Point Source project or any of our contracts is not an easy task, and obviously at this time there's also a lot of other competing projects that are going on right now. So hats off to everybody who has worked so hard to get all those contracts closed out. Let's keep them coming. So also, so far this year, we've processed 9 time extension requests and 1 landowner change amendment. Presently, we are managing a total of 158 contracts, active contracts, I should say, which represents an approximate total of $57 million. This funding is being used to support projects on about 400 farms in 41 counties throughout the state. We have 42 contracts that are pending. Those are all of our round 27 contracts. Those have been forwarded down to our fiscal management division and are working through the process to get executed. Those 42 contracts represent a total of $13.2 million of state funding. Any questions about the overall program status of the Ag Non-Point Source program? I guess hearing none, I will shift to our amendments that have been submitted for consideration this month. We have 2 time extension amendments, both from Region 1. Our first time extension amendment was submitted by Allegheny County Soil and Water Conservation District for a round 24 project. They are requesting a 1-year time extension.
Comments, questions, anyone? Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll go to voting. Erica? Dave?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Approved. Thank you. Next one.
Okay, our next amendment was submitted by, excuse me, the Wayne County Soil and Water Conservation District, also for a Round 24 project. They are looking for just under a year extension to a new date of December 31st, 2022.
Questions, comments, anyone? Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
go to voting. Erica?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So for a Round 28 RFP status update, I will just share with the state committee that our question and answer period has closed. That closed on April 4th, and the final Q&A document has been posted to SharePoint and was also emailed out to districts yesterday. And I believe it was also added to the department's website as well. The deadline for proposal submissions for Round 28 will be 4:30 p.m. on May 2nd. And just a reminder to folks on the line, proposals must be submitted through the state committee SharePoint website, and we encourage districts to start submitting those as early as they possibly can to avoid any upload issues or concerns. If anyone has any trouble uploading application documents to the SharePoint website, they should reach out to me directly via email, and we can work with the districts to make sure they get their proposals submitted. Any other questions on Round 28? Okay. So I think the next item on the agenda is to present the recommendation to the state committee regarding a eligibility determination for a Round 26 project. Just for I guess a little bit of background, at our March state committee meeting, we received, or we presented correspondence that was received from the Montgomery County Soil and Water Conservation District. Sorry. Where they were requesting a review of state committee policies to be conducted to determine if a waste storage facility installed directly underneath a covered livestock heavy use area with slatted floors is an eligible project. Part of this review involved us taking a look at our underbarn manure storage policy, as well as the roofs and covers for livestock heavy use area runoff management systems. For a little bit of background, Montgomery County Soil and Water Conservation District was awarded a Round 26 contract through the non-point source program to implement a number of best management practices on one farm. The request that was documented in the correspondence from the district was specific to two of the best management practices that would be going in on the farm, specifically a livestock heavy use area runoff management system and a waste storage and transfer system. The district indicated to us through that correspondence that the farm is interested in implementing a covered livestock heavy use area with a waste storage facility to be located directly underneath that heavy use area. So on March 22nd, the district provided some conceptual drawings to state committee staff that showed the proposed project. These drawings were completed by a private engineering firm. Following the receipt of those documents, we scheduled a teleconference with the district and met with them on April 4th to discuss the proposed system further and to gather a better understanding of what the farm is interested in implementing. So the proposed system, as indicated on the drawings, includes a heavy use area that is directly adjacent to another heavy use area that would consist of 2 scrape alleys and an interior feed alley. All of these components would be located under one roof structure. The facility is planned or is drawn to be an open facility with no walls or curtains. The proposed waste storage facility will be located underneath the portion of the heavy use area that has the 2 scrape alleys and the interior feed alley. The interior feed alley would be located in the center of the 2 scrape alleys, which are located on either side. Slatted floors would be installed in the scrape alleys to allow for the passive transfer of manure while animals are being fed. Heifers and young stock would utilize one side of the feed alley, and milk cows and dry cows would utilize the other. The district indicated to us that is anticipated that the dairy and dry cow herd will be present on the heavy use area for approximately 5 to 6 hours a day. Heifers may be on the heavy use area for longer periods, but they also do have access to pasture as well. Manure from the, the separate heavy use area that is located adjacent to like the feeding area would be pushed to the slatted floors so that it can be added to the manure storage. The district indicated to us that the proposed waste storage facility will provide 6 months of storage capacity for the farm, and there are plans to add runoff from a dry manure stacking pad as well as milk house wastewater to the proposed waste storage facility. Currently, the preliminary designs provide for 3 access ports that would be used to agitate and extract manure from the waste storage facility. And currently, a gas monitoring system is not part of the design, but the district has indicated that that could be considered, and they have also done some, preliminary investigations into the costs associated with that type of a system. So after meeting with the district and reviewing some of those conceptual designs that were provided to us, state committee staff feel that a waste storage facility underneath a covered heavy use area still presents many of the same concerns as an under barn waste storage facility. Specifically, human and animal health impacts from the gases that are emitted from those types of waste storages are still a very big concern. In this case, specifically, the ventilation of the gases would be restricted to the 2 scrape alleys, which could potentially result in a higher concentration of gases that would be exiting the storage. The conceptual drawings show that the proposed waste storage and slatted floor system are functionally equivalent to that of an underbarn waste storage facility as described in our underbarn manure storage policy. And they still maintain all the same drawbacks and potential hazards that are described in that policy. So at this time, we would recommend that this type of waste storage facility, even being located underneath a heavy use area, remain ineligible for state cost share. Part of our recommendation includes some recommended alternatives for consideration by the district and the participating landowner. First recommendation would be that the Ag Non-Point Source Program funds support the proposed project scope as written in the Round 26 application, where a separate livestock heavy use area runoff management system and a separate waste storage and transfer system be implemented. A second alternative would be for the Ag Non-Point Source funds to support the costs of the entire heavy use area with the slatted floors that allow manure to pass to a short-term waste transfer that's located underneath the slatted floor portion that would allow manure to flow to a waste storage facility that is located outside of the structure. As part of this, the interior feed alley would be an ineligible, or it would be ineligible for cost share or match pursuant to the roofs and covers for livestock heavy use area policy. Before I guess I open it up for discussion, I do want to thank Montgomery County Soil and Water for bringing this to our attention and asking the question and allowing us to meet with them. And I want to say thank you to Corey for providing us with all of the background information, which really helped to get a better understanding of this project. Are there any questions from folks out there?
Bethany, before we start the discussion, yeah, I would echo that. Thank you to Corey bringing this up to our attention. And, you know, also thank the staff for continuing to deliberate on this particular request and, you know, coming to, you know, what our recommendations are here today. Certainly, a lot of staff looked at that. And I just want to remind the group that the question was not, you know, whether the policy that we have in place prohibiting under barn waste storage is appropriate or not. The question is, does that apply to a covered heavy use area, which is something that we do fund for water quality protection, you know, under specific policy related to what's eligible and what's not. So, you know, again, good discussion in last month's meeting and, you know, bringing forward, you know, what some of those distinctions and differences may be. You know, after much discussion as a staff and reviewing the plans and then discussions with the district again, you know, our main reason for coming up with this recommendation is, as Bethany mentioned, we do not see where the distinctions lie between an under barn storage and a covered heavy use area with a storage underneath, that they are functionally equivalent. And to start out here, that our concerns very much still exist with a system like this. So with that, thank you, Bethany, for the way you presented this, and Dale, I guess, open it up for discussions.
Thank you, Bethany, and thank you, Brian. It's never a situation where I want to discourage farmers from applying for help through the districts. But there's another underlying issue here. The state is now putting out $16 million in CRF, and that is primarily to cover storages to capture methane. I think it's wrong for us to cost share programs where we are building facilities where methane cannot be captured. We are spending X dollars to build this system, but you can't capture the methane off it. And yet we're turning around and putting 16 million into facilities or close to that to capture methane. It's kind of two programs opposing each other, and I really don't think we should be doing that. The greenhouse gas initiatives are going to be our priority going forward into the future, I believe. We shouldn't be taking steps that would make the greenhouse gas positions worse. That can't be remedied. And under a slatted floor barn, you can't capture the gas. I do agree that this facility is very similar to a standard barn, except that it doesn't have the walls in it. And the ventilation would be somewhat better because of that. But to me, I really have a hard time proving funding for programs that are butting heads against each other. We should have programs that are going in one direction, and this would increase methane production without an ability to collect it. Other discussion, please?
I'll just second. I think I agree with the train of thought that Dale shared, and think that, you know, with both those opportunities for growing the CRF program, and kind of seeing with this as not being a big trend we're seeing come up, that with this specific proposal and the recommendations, I'd agree with what's been stated here.
Just my opinion. I have had conversations with Scott Thickbaum and with the state committee about, you know, flares and covers and covering manure storages. Until we get some mechanical, something better for sand separation and mechanical methods, it's going to be really difficult. I got one farmer in Montgomery County that currently does a flare cover system, and I have worked diligently in the last 6 years to try to, when I'm building these manure storage, because they're in conflict with each other. Both programs, you know, we're building a manure storage and a manure storage at Connors Farm. We built 3 last year, and we're going to build 3 more this year with these EPF programs. And we don't have the capacity to do a cover and flare on any one of the 3 systems that we're going to install this year or last year, because the farmers won't get rid of sand bedding, and they do not want to go to mechanical separation. Non-mechanical separation is really difficult. So I think we have 2 issues here that, you know, like you said, need to find some way to work in conjunction with each other. And I'm not sure how that's going to be accomplished, because like I said, in Montgomery County, I worked on a couple of large scale dairy farm, 1,500 cow milkers, that asked me, you know, can we do mechanical separation or get rid of the sand and go to sawdust bedding? And there was zero, I mean, no interest at all in either one of those 2 changes to their management operations. So it's definitely a major hurdle in Montgomery County for me to overcome. Maybe that's because sand is easy, prevalent, and easy to get. You know, it's cheap, it's good bedding, animals have high health standards with it. You know, so I do think that those issues may come to become light here in EPF here someday. But right now, Connors is going to build a manure storage, and there's not going to be a collection mechanism that would be retrofittable. I don't know how we could retrofit a system over top of this, but we can still agitate and get the sand bedding out. You know, so that's good. That's this particular one here. There would be no bedding. The bedding. So this one they were proposing, if the spotted floor is only going to be over the manure storage, so it's not going to be over the heavy use. The heavy use area is going to be independent and on the side. You know, so I like the spotted floor, and the concerns were storage of emit gases and then agitation issues. Those are the 2 things that are in the policy that we have in the mentioned here. And the agitation, there's no bedding in it, so there seems to be no issue with agitation. They got these systems that have been in place for over 20 years, and I was researching these the last couple of days, and nobody talks about any negative gas consequences in these facilities. And then they all talk about, you know, reducing lameness, increased activity, improved comfort, better feed conversion rates. And right here in Montgomery County, we have one of these in place. And he said, just without taking anything into consideration, he said the foot health on his animals has gone to almost 0 in that facility. And then when I looked at the, because Dale, you talked about last week, you know, efficiency. Most of his stuff is a bedded pack at the MFT farm, where he put this barn. They said it's 380 hours a year for management of a 1,000-cow farm, and with the slotted floor, it takes down to about 140 hours. So about 1/3 of the time to manage it, the facility, over what it takes to manage it with a regular bedded floor, bedded area. So I think there's a lot of, I mean, seeing one of these in action, having right here in my backyard, it's definitely an impressive structure. And I did send Bethany a PowerPoint to show the animals, the facility, what it looks like, you know, so you guys get a clear understanding of exactly what we're proposing. You know, but the methane issue, collecting, that's going to be, you know, this is a program, like you said, Dale, we got two programs working against each other, but this one's going to have a manure storage. It's going to be a regular manure storage. We've already built it. This one will be, if we don't do this one, it's not going to have a roof over it. It'll be outside, and we'll collect our 39 inches of rainwater. We'll improve the cost of spreading the manure, the increased volume of storage with the storm events that we have to collect in there, and the average rainwater. And I think, you know, when we look at this cost share policy here, there was two concerns: the gas emissions and proper agitation. The ones that Wayne and Cyrus and both and Mark Tamel visited, they said they've had 20 years, they've never had to get in that pit for agitation. And I have seen nothing on any of the stuff that I've been researching on these slotted floor barns, because I said, we don't have to guess. We have these all over Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Gas doesn't seem to be on the list of concerns. So I said, I'm not finding anything that talks about the gas emissions. And then the agitation seems to be, since there's no bedding in this, it's coming right back into, you know, we're bringing the agitation, come back to, so I think this is a really good option. And one of the things I talked about at our April 4th meeting was, we've been doing covered barnyards, and we're trying to get away from, I've never wanted to put covered barnyards in, because my entire career, it was like, we don't want a covered facility. And we used to make them sign an contracts, and they won't cover it for 10 years after we walk away, because you can't put a roof on it. We don't build barns. Now we have to make them say, we're not going to turn it into living space. But one of the Connors, who we're doing this for right now, Connor brought a design in from, it was Johnson & Johnson's 2,000 cow dairy in New Jersey, and they put a slotted floor over top of the manure storage. And the animals exit the freestall facility, and they got full access to the outside, standing on top of the manure storage on a slotted floor design. And then they scrape the manure or the scrape bellies right into the slotted floors, right into, and I said, boy, you know, the two of the farms I built, we go from the barn to a barnyard and then scrape into the storage. If we could put the animals on top of the storage, the farmers can get what they want, is these animals access to full sunshine. So I think we should be also looking at the slotted floor manure storage, and, you know, and if we can get away from the barnyard, we could have the manure storage and the covered barnyard occupying the same exact space. You know, and that's without a roof, you know, so we get away from the roof structure, because that is a very expensive option. But I think having one of these slotted floors in the county, it's an impressive structure, both from management and animal health. It's an impressive structure, and that's what happened. Connors went up there, and I told him, go look at one of our barnyards. He looked at this, he's like, why can't I have one of these? Oh my God, this is amazing. You know, so I understand the state committee's policy says it's forbidden. The state committee didn't change their opinion on that policy. You know, and that's why I came to the board to see if, you know, we could revisit that for this particular one. You don't have to change the whole policy. You know, we just do a variance on this one facility here. And I think it's having one, and I invited you guys already out to MMT Cattle to look at that facility. It is an impressive structure. The management, the animal health, and, you know, if gas is a concern, I said we can we can design a gas meter. It's about $4,000 additional cost to have a gas meter installed. And if you need to see pictures, Bethany does have the PowerPoint with all the documents. Shows MMT Cattle's their facility under construction and completed, and picture of the cows standing on it, see how clean they are, how clean the floor is, and then the proposal for Connors.
The discussion.
I think Dave might have been, I don't know if he had a comment. There was some feedback coming from his line, so I had to mute it. But Dave, if you want to unmute and if you have any other comments.
Not. Brian, how do you want to proceed?
Well, you know, we do have a little bit more time on the agenda. If there's any further discussion or questions, we do also have, as Corey mentioned, some photos and plan drawings in a PowerPoint format. So if that's something that the state committee would like to see, that's your choice. But, you know, just want to remind everybody as well that, as Corey mentioned, you know, he wasn't asking us to overturn the policy that was previously approved by this committee. That wasn't the intent. The intent was to look to see if this was a different situation that doesn't fit that policy and something that could be allowed in this case. So, you know, again, just want to remind the committee that, you know, that was a long deliberation. You know, there were a lot of options that we put in front of the committee at that point in time. And I also want to remind the committee, too, that another reason why it was deemed ineligible under that policy was also the complexity for which the district and the farmer, the contractor, and then ultimately us would have to discern the appropriateness of costs with certain eligible expenses and ineligible expenses. Certainly, as you know, there are elements that could be in those bills that the program is not, you know, is not able to support. So that was another component of that policy as well. Certainly, Corey, thank you for bringing up, yes, the gas issues, the agitation issues, but it was also the complexity of which, you know, separating all those costs. Dale brings up another good point related to, since that policy was passed, the Climate Act, the focus on methane, and the scoping plan that really does direct us to take a critical look at our programs to make sure that we are doing everything we possibly can for those programs to be working in parallel and you know, looking at how we support manure storages to manage for methane is also important into the future. So certainly something that is worth noting here. Not to diminish the challenges, Corey, that you bring up. It related to sand bedding and you know how retrofittable the storages are that are currently out there. It's something that we're going to have to work on, and something we're going to have to prioritize. You know, farms that are ready, farms that you know, need to take those additional steps and bedding concerns before, you know, we could consider an alternative. But certainly worth noting, and I think very relevant to this discussion.
I agree that management on this facility is probably far higher than what we had seen in the past. But to me, that really has nothing to do with management. My decision on this, if anyone who is familiar with the 2030 and 2050 climate goals for the greenhouse gas emissions on agriculture, if you are truly familiar with them, you're going to be terrified, because the 2030 goal might be achievable. The 2050 goal is not achievable, literally not. If that's not changed, I have no idea how, without massive change in technology, how agriculture will survive in this state. I do not believe, I think it will come back against us, the committee, if we start spending money to support programs that increase greenhouse gas production when we don't have a way to mitigate it. I think in time, you may even see a point where we're not going to fund manure storages without a cover on. It may all be included into one grant. It is the farmer's prerogative to do what he wants on his property, but but not with state money. State money has to have its tax dollars. I believe we really have to rethink going forward, and I actually support going back and re-looking at this whole decision we made previously to include that because of greenhouse gas production, we can't afford any type of thing along this line. We have to be very careful moving forward if we are going to the government funding farms to mitigate these gases and not mandating the farms do it on their own. I believe we have real problems coming at us down the line to meet what has already been passed into law. I do not want to jeopardize funding that the state now is willing to give us in very large ways to accomplish this goal. I believe that because of the law requirements, that the future largest part of our program will be greenhouse gas mitigation, and not just this, and afforestation and all kinds of programs. It's going to take a massive push by every district across this state to be able to, in my view, save agriculture if this law doesn't get changed. I can't support this because it's we don't have a way to mitigate the gas that we are helping to fund create. Other discussion, please.
What's the, I mean, the alternative here is daily spread, right? Or manure storage in its current form. We're building a manure storage and, and unfortunately there's not a lot of alternatives as far as nutrient management and, managing that manure as an asset. We're doing manure storages. Daily spread is, we're trying to get rid of the daily spread premise out there on our farms. And, I've been through erosion control, water quality, carbon sequestration. It seems like the goals change and our programs change, and we have to meet those goals and programmatic changes. Right now we're at the crux of another major change in our program, from water erosion control to water quality to carbon and gas sequestration. So I think these are programmatic changes that we've experienced. I've experienced two major ones over the course of my career here. So I think the next one, Dale, I think you're right, it's coming. And, what do we do with there? Do we just push them out of the state, or currently, right now we're having trouble with people and staff and employees and finding employees for these farms and cutting down management, and the amount of time needed to manage the facilities is a very big part of Connor's idea for this whole proposal. But we're building manure storage there, whether it's in conjunction with or in opposition to, the program goals for 2030. I don't know how we overcome that hurdle at this juncture. I don't know that we're set up right now with dairy. We're telling our dairy farmers and our farmers in general, we want you to store your manure. We don't want a daily spread operation. We're worried about water quality, and we're not quite to we're at the cusp where we want to change that out, and now we want to not just worry about the water quality and the management of those nutrients, but now we want to also harvest the gas out of these facilities. And we're not, and like I said, I've worked so hard with our farmers over the last couple of years to just try to talk them into stand separation or changing their bedding. And it's just, I can't even make a whisper. None of you guys even, it's not even falling on deaf ears. It's not even an issue or a discussion topic. And we got one farm, our biggest CAFO in the county, just built a 12 million gallon outdoor storage. 12 million gallons. And everything is direct push. So there's no place for that farm to do manure separation and get this thing, the manure separated into a cover and clear. There's none. We dug 6 feet of manure out of a 12, well, it was about 6 million gallons at that time. And they dug 6 feet of manure out of the entire manure storage. Sand is just such a difficult thing to work with. So, I understand that premise. And I think that, you know, that from the state's perspective, we do have to figure out how to get those two programs to come into alignment with each other. But I can't even make a pebbles toss wave into the ocean here when I'm working with my dairy farmers and discussing these options. So right now, we're still working on nutrient management, right, and water quality. So we want to take them, or we want to store them, or we want to get it used and take advantage of the fertilizer capabilities of that manure to the best of our function. And that's what we're doing with this program right now, is utilizing that manure, creating an asset instead of a, you know, a problem that they have to, or garbage that they have to get rid of every day. You know, so I think I think that the time is coming where we're going to have to make those programmatic decisions, but we're not even on the breaking point here as far as that goes.
Don't disagree with what you said at all. It's the issue that there have been laws passed that are out of our control that the farmers are going to have to meet. And I don't believe we should be spending tax money. My vote says I'm not going to do that. And I'm not disagreeing with what you have said, but our programs are changing because climate change is being considered the #1 issue in this state by the downstate, and they control the legislature. And we are being directed through that we have to put that as #1, and with tax dollars. And I want to see tax dollars continue. I support where we can support you and the development on this farm, but I'm not sure. I know it's not to the length that you are seeking.
Yeah, both Corey, Dale, you bring up really good points, and you know, luckily for us, I guess the bright side of this discussion, this debate that we're going to continue here, is that you know, this practice system, manure storage for nutrient management for water quality to avoid daily spread, is identified as the only system that has a corresponding effect on climate change in a negative way, right? So we know that the vast majority of our conservation practice systems, you know, have both a water quality, nutrient management, erosion sediment control, and a climate benefit. We do need to get our arms around manure management, and we need to develop tools and new types of systems that can meet farmers where they're at to meet all of those objectives. And it won't be covers and flares for all farms, but it could be other alternative manure management strategies that prevent methane production and the storage of that manure. It could be anaerobic digesters for certain farms. So stay tuned, and I hope that everybody would engage, Corey, especially from your experience, having gone through these major transitions in your career, to help us develop and reimagine our programs so that we can ensure that they're moving in the same direction together to meet all of the goals, right? We're not going to be trading off climate goals for nutrient management goals either. We need to figure out a way to do it together. And I know that this particular you know, policy question request was not intended to spark that larger discussion, but it is one that you know, we're poised and you know, ready to have. But as we mentioned, is relevant in this particular case, and it isn't so much that, you know, we're gonna not continue to fund nutrient management and manure storage systems, but we have to do it in a way that, you know, we can take that next step sometime in the not so distant future, so that we can meet, you know, the 2030 and 2050 climate goals. So I guess enough said on that bigger topic, but just wanted to also make those points, because I heard you both making them as well, that it's not so much about trade-offs as it is coming up with a system that's going to address all those issues in one.
Yeah, you know, the farm that I did talk to, we put that cover and flare on in right around 1999, 2000. And I talked to that farmer and said, you know, you weren't set up for the cover and flare, and it maximized its lifespan. I said, what about putting a new cover and flare on there, more efficient methane collection, you know, and use the technology we have today? And he said, what's the cost share rate? He said 75 to 85%. He says, well, that'd be $100,000. And the dairy industry doesn't give that capacity. He says, I don't really get a benefit out of that other than a reduction in water in my manure. So I think, you know, just from a cost share perspective, I think at the cover and flare, maybe we need to reconsider the 87.5% match and go to a higher match, because the farmer really is having trouble with the buy-in of spending $100,000 or $75,000 on a program where their actual benefit is, you know, we're all saving the environment. You know, I'm not trying to dissuade that argument, but, you know, from a business perspective, asking him to, I asked him, you know, let's do this in your town. Let's improve this. You're out of date on your stuff. It needs to be improved and updated. And he's like, I couldn't come up with $75,000 or $80,000 to do that. It doesn't really save us very much, you know. So I think, and then we really have to concentrate on a good stand separation. Because if I get a good stand separator that the farmers will use, I think we could really make this thing. I think that we could really have some success with the separation facility. I just don't know how to do it where the farmers don't buy in and not have to worry so much about the mechanical part of it. But I think, you know, with next year's CRF, I honestly, and this would be the subcommittee, maybe I should participate in a subcommittee for CRF next year, you know, but we really should consider, and I don't know if we can we go to 100% cost share on the state? Where we, you know,
Yeah, I mean, these are discussions that we're going to be, you know, having later on in the agenda, and probably in every agenda moving forward for the rest of my career. Well, with that said, there is no law that gives us a ceiling on cost share percentage under CRF, so we have that going for us. You know, as opposed to ag non-point source that is capped out at 87.5, 12.5. You know, under, you know, very specific circumstances, normally 75-25 with ag non-point. So there is that. And we did have that discussion with CRF going into our round 6 RFP with $8 million available with 2 fiscal years combined, and did increase from a 75-25 to an 80-20. And that cost share percentage for practices that do not have a particular high rate return on investment is something that we're committed to continuing to discuss.
We have, especially.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just saying for today, I need to give the farmer an answer. So I want to make sure we don't forget to give me a yay or nay vote on this thing, and then I can move this to the farmer.
One last thing, Brian and I have begun discussions now that the budget is out on exactly that cost share problem, about combining other programs with our program to get 100% cost share and the feasibility of that. And that will be starting what we are going to be starting to work on going forward because we know the cost share is way too high for the individual farmer to come up with due to the cost of these total programs. There are many farmers that can't come up with the 20% or 15%, whatever it would be. And we fully understand that and are trying to rectify that. Brian, vote on this?
Yep, so the recommendation in front of you here is that this particular project is consistent with the underbarn manure storage prohibition policy. So the motion here would be either to accept our staff recommendations on the alternatives. We continue to work with the district on those alternatives, or you know, the state committee is more than empowered to make a decision in favor of the request here in Montgomery County. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that the state committee is here for a reason, and you know, empowers the staff to look into and research and make recommendations, but it ultimately is the state committee's decision to make. So
we will need a motion. It can be either to accept the staff's recommendation or to approve what the district would like to accomplish with this farm. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the staff recommendation.
A second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the staff's recommendation. Go to voting on this. Further discussion on it first?
Yeah, I just want to say that, kind of back up your point, Dale. You're both, I agree with both of you 100%. But when you look at the lifespan of a project, say it's 20 to 30 years, that basically puts you at that, pushing that 2050 goal, and that facility really could be obsolete in just a few years. So, I mean, as much as, they would like to do it, and as good an idea as it might be, it might be obsolete in a few years. So, but I agree with both of you 100%, but it's kind of we're just kind of stuck. So we can't really fund a project that might be obsolete in just a few years. That's all I got.
Go to voting. Erica?
Aye.
Dave?
No. Yes.
Darren? Darren?
Yes.
Scott?
Abstain?
Okay, thank you. It is approved.
Thank you very much for your consideration. I appreciate the opportunity to get up there and speak my mind.
Thank you
very,
again, Corey.
I'm very much
really
so,
do
and,
mean it.
I honestly am very sorry.
No, that's just, the farmer.
I really am worried.
We can always ask. And like I told him, I'll bring it to the state committee board and see what you guys say. If we can do it, if we can't, we can't. So NRCS didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other. They were kind of sent it right back to Tom Bialy to here locally to make that local decision and not do it from a statewide perspective. So I appreciate the consideration, and this is why you're there.
Thank you very much, Corey. We'll continue to work with you and through you with the farm to make sure we can still address the resource concerns.
All right, thank you.
Next on the agenda, CRF, Jennifer.
Thanks, Dale. So CRF, just a quick update where we are in 2022. We've had one cancellation that is under review, and we have 7 closeouts that either have been approved or are under review. So things are moving forward. Right now, rounds 1 through 5, we've awarded $12 million and have 117 contracts through those 5 rounds. With round 6, that's another $8 million that we're looking to award, and so that would be a total of $20 million through rounds 1 through 5. So it is very impactful that our new budget has $16.75 million in it. That'll give us a lot of options to expand the program and offer some cost share assistance that could really help farmers meet or move towards these greenhouse gas goals that we've been discussing. So round 6, just a reminder that that is still open. We have received a few applications so far, so that is great, and we're still receiving interest as far as just interest coming through. Some questions related to just what's in the RFP, but the FAQ has closed for that round. So those applications are due May 16th. For round 7, with that $16.75 million that we have in the budget, we will be bringing some concepts to the TAC later this month to help start developing expansion for round 7 and bringing some concepts and decisions forward to the state committee at a later meetings. I don't have any amendments to approve this month. We have had one landowner change that is that is being processed right now, but no other amendments at this time. A quick update on the Hudson Valley Carbon Farming Project that we have going. This will be in its final year right now. That was just a 2-year project, but it was kind of extended out due to COVID. And so that's still being worked on through its final year here. Right now, we're actively working with Scenic Hudson on some outreach efforts, including some additional videos highlighting practices. They had put together a couple videos highlighting some farms and practices that were done under that grant, and we're going to continue doing a few more to help just provide outreach that is open for anyone to watch, but really helps with that farmer-to-farmer connection on increasing the adoption of soil health practices that are being done in that area. So the next thing I wanted to discuss was the USDA Climate Smart Commodities pilot proposal that we've been working on. This is a grant that's due to the USDA by May 6th. So we've been working, our main partner is DEC, Division of Lands and Forests. It's an ag and forestry related grant. So we've connected with them to really work on improving or increasing adoption of climate smart practices on agriculture. And then DEC is focusing on Regenerate New York program that they have to help increase afforestation, and climate smart practices for landowners that have forest land. Right now, we have a really estimated budget. The ask can be between 5 million and 100 million, so we're kind of somewhere in between, probably about 60 million or so, but we're still refining the scope and working on the narrative for that proposal. So nothing's been quite finalized yet, but we're getting closer to having something that we can submit by the due date. We have a lot more partners involved besides AGM and DEC. We're also working with Cornell CALs on a lot of the measurement, monitoring, reporting, and verification pieces that we need to put forward in that proposal. That'll help better quantify the practices that we've been putting on ground to measure the greenhouse gas reductions and to measure the carbon sequestration. Right now, we rely on Comet Planner, which was built by USDA, and that is kind of the national baseline for estimating greenhouse gas reductions for practices that are implemented that can reduce greenhouse gases on farm. But nationally and within the state, we're looking for better quantification methods. So that's something that will help come out of this proposal. The other piece of that grant is direct assistance to farmers. So we are looking at a large portion of that funding would help go towards dairy and working on alternative manure management systems, as well as soil health, agroforestry, silvopasture, and even some climate smart innovations that we're looking at through that proposal. If awarded, between that and our increase in CRF, we are looking at some major funding that we can put forward to farmers to help meet those goals we've been discussing. Another large piece of that proposal is market connections. So we've actually been meeting with Ag and Markets, Ag Development, and discussing ways that New York State grown and certified, as well as even promotion through Taste New York, really promoting New York grown products and combining that with climate smart grown products. So we've been discussing how those programs can overlap and how we can help bolster those programs. Nationally, there is the organization Usda that is also working on market connections that can help really make some connections potentially outside of the state versus just within New York for climate smart commodities. So we hope that, you know, with all these connections being made and progress that, you know, we can help meet the goals of the Climate Act as well as keep farms farming in New York State. That's all I had to report on that grant. So the only other thing I was going to mention is that last month we received approval to move forward with a methane proposal, working with Cornell Cal's, Pro Dairy, and Ithaca College. We have started the process of that contract, getting approval to create that contract and working on a scoping plan with those entities to develop a full proposal that we can contract and fund. So that is the status of that. So those are the things we're working on under climate with at AGM. Be happy to answer any questions or you know, provide any more detail on any of those things I touched on.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's an awful lot. This grant proposal is opportunity is very large, and it is taking a large partnership to pull it off. Happy to say that this partnership, you know, certainly isn't new. You know, we do have some new partners, but you know, through the course of our work as a state committee and certainly as the Ag and Forestry Advisory Panel, you know, had a chance to work with so many of these partners to put together something that with so many different authors and stakeholders that I think puts New York in a good position to help advance our climate goals with these federal funds. So stay tuned. By the next time we meet, we'll have submitted this proposal, and we'll continue to update the committee on it. And if we receive it, certainly in addition to this committee, you know, be establishing advisory panels and work groups and wanting to get as much feedback as possible in order to implement it. So stay tuned. I just dropped a couple of quick links in the chat, just as a Climate Action Council update. The next Climate Action Council meeting is Monday, April 18th. So stay tuned for that. I'm sorry, yep, 18th. And just also want to mention that the draft scoping plan still is out for public comment. Public comment period ends in June. And there are a number of public hearings that are scheduled, both in person and virtual. And if you follow the links in the chat, you will see a schedule for those. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. Much of what we talked about today related to our climate goals, you know, all referenced and noted within Chapter 15 of that plan, Ag and Forestry, as well as some of the land use and local government sections. So please take a look if you haven't already, and also view the entire plan for, you know, potential impacts to our work, both in conservation and certainly agricultural community.
Thank you, Brian. Before we go into advisory and district reports, I do like the idea that Corey had of a subcommittee on CRF to make recommendations on how to change it due to what we are now going to see, the amount of money coming in, and how do we help the farmers the best. And maybe having more input from across the state into a subcommittee would help us quite a bit make the right decisions and not just come from staff and the committee. So I do like that idea a lot. And maybe Brian and staff can explore on how do you think it ought to be set up and what we can do. Looking at a lot of money, I think, over the long years coming, and I want to make sure it's used right. And so the more input, the better.
Yeah, we definitely want to accept feedback. We, under CRF, we don't have the kind of restrictions that, to show a water quality concern. Through CRF, we want to hit every farm. Every farm has greenhouse gas emissions on it, and every farm has the capacity to sequester carbon. So, however we can meet the needs of all farmers and all types of farms across the state is going to be important to meet our climate goals. So we definitely want to receive feedback on any obstacles for our programs and how we can mold those programs to help farmers meet the broader goals of climate change. So absolutely, thank you.
Okay, we will go into reports, and I'll start with the voting members. Erica, you have anything to report?
I don't have anything to share today. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Dave, anything?
I don't have anything.
Quick. Darren?
I don't think I have anything.
You. Scott?
I don't think I have anything either.
Quick day. Brian, turn it over to you.
Well, great. For those of you who are new to the meetings, I'm just going to go through our advisory agencies and organizations first, ask if they've got anything to report, and then Conservation District partners and any other partners on the line. You can feel free to unmute and give a report or ask questions or provide comments to the committee. So I'm going to start off with the same roll call order that I did earlier. So Ag and Markets, Jeff, are you still on the line? Do you have anything to report to the committee or questions for the committee?
I'm here, a little bit new, so I'm going to, I don't know what type of updates that on my end that would necessarily apply to this meeting, but I will be sure to figure that out.
Well, we certainly can help you with that, Jeff. No, thank you again and welcome. Glad to have you with us. Okay, Cornell Cal. Val?
Yeah, I just have something pretty quick. There's currently a new study starting up on farm and residential ponds, which is going to be examining pond greenhouse gases and carbon burials. And it's just a general call out for if there's interest in learning about the ecology of the pond, and if people are interested in letting Cornell researchers come and sample. The pond needs to be human made, and you need to know the year of the construction, and is less than 5 hectares in surface area and less than 5 meters deep. If there's interest, I'll just drop the email to reach out to the researcher, Meredith Holgerson, and what would be required in terms of getting involved with this research project.
Well, I can offer Montgomery County up for that. We do have 5 public ponds that the district here has built that have public access on public property, so you're welcome to those 5.
Corey, thank you for that. Val, thank you for that report. Yeah, I'm really excited about this study. Had an opportunity to meet with Professor Holgerson a bit about this, and thank you for dropping that information. So Corey, if you can pull that out of the chat there, and we'll also, I think we also have an email that we might have sent around previously. We'll make sure we refresh that and get that out to all our districts. Good stuff. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Val? Okay, thank you, Val. Beth Claypool, CTE.
Oh, can you hear me? All right, sorry,
Yes, we
nothing
can.
now. I unmuted and then my microphone was off. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. No, nothing here.
Okay, thank you. Dustin, CDEA.
Thank you, Brian. We are all thoroughly recovering from our second virtual water quality symposium. Went well. Good detailed outline of what went on in the CDEA newsletter for anybody that's interested. I want to thank you guys for inviting us to be part of the Climate Smart Commodities discussion. Really appreciate that, as you know, we know that districts are going to be involved in putting a lot of this on the ground, so it's good to have that involvement, and we appreciate the chance to discuss, and we'll continue being involved in any other discussions or CRF discussions that you want to have along the way, you know, during the TAC or outside of the TAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. Also, you know, an effort that we've been working on together is district capacity, recruitment, and retention. Dustin, I want to mention that we did put some information together. I wasn't ready to share for this meeting yet, but information together from some of our reports on district personnel numbers, salary, and that should help in those committee discussions on district recruitment and retention. So I want to mention that to you.
Thank you. That's great. Let me know when you want to talk about it, and get Caitlin involved as well, since she's taken more of a lead on the CDEA side of that.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. And Ben was able to crunch some numbers, you know, from the report. So
great,
it's great. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Dustin? Okay, DEC. Anyone from DEC have a report or any questions or
Yes.
comments for the committee?
Yes, I have a report too. Sorry. This is Asim. DEC has submitted an annual report for the period of April 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021 to EPA. And thanks to Ag and Market, DOS, and other agencies to help us out, it has been accepted, and shortly it will be posted on the website.
It's great. Looking forward to reading that. See, maybe sometime in the not too distant future, you could give you know, that report and the highlights of that work to the committee. I think that'd be great.
Sure, that we can do that.
Awesome. Thank you. I know we have a couple other reps from DEC. Anyone else from DEC have got a report, comment, or question for the committee? Okay. Thank you. Department of Health, Paul.
Brian.
Oh, yes, Asim, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I actually was thinking that maybe somebody from other unit will speak about. But we actually are working closely with the NRCS on NWQI agreement, and we actually have submitted our draft proposal to the NRCS, and we have identified 4 sub-watersheds in the Chesapeake Bay area where we are working closely, and looking forward, you know, once their comment is done, we will give the reports to the committee also, provided in future.
That's great, Asim. Thank you for that. Thank you for that as well. And I'll just take another moment to thank DEC for their ongoing support in watersheds across the state. We are working on a couple of different MOU projects up in the Lake Champlain to continue the work on rural roads, active management, and also now we're looking at doing some cover crop work in Lake Champlain Basin, and we're also looking at phase 2 of the soil health practice in the Finger Lakes, which is something that PJ reported on a few months back. Very successful project in that region. So we're looking to continue that with some additional funds. So thank you to DEC for your ongoing support of district work, and farmers in those regions. All right. Department of Health, Paul?
Yes, Brian. Let's see. We have very, very soon, hopefully, more than likely, unless something very unexpected comes up. By the end of the month, we will release for public comment the 5-year revision for New York City's filtration avoidance determination. There's actually very little that's been changed in this particular revision. Typically, the public comment period is 45 days, although in the past it has been extended to 90 days. And that's really kind of up to the department, way above our heads, whether that occurs or not. That's pretty much all I have from my end as far as the health department goes. But personally, I have, all this talk about climate goals and different schemes and whatnot. I just had some thoughts about that. One is that on paper, if you're doing a pie chart of methane emissions, on paper, the agricultural industry looks like low-hanging fruit in a sense. If you're really not immersed in what farming is like, it looks like low-hanging fruit, but it really isn't. So I think that the climate goals regarding agriculture are a bit unrealistic. And currently, there's nowhere near enough money to meet these goals. Now, there might be enough money, as was discussed, with different grants perhaps coming in. One thing that might be beneficial is for us to come up with an estimate of what it would take in current dollars to meet, let's say, the 2030 climate goals. Because I haven't seen any figures. Maybe there are figures that have been produced about this, but I haven't seen any. And I think it'd be good for policymakers that have created these goals, the legislature and the governor, to see what the real costs are. So my second thought, there was some talk about full payment schemes where the landowner would not have to put any their own money in. And having worked for over 10 years in New York City's programs, whether it's the agricultural programs or on-site septic system programs and many other programs, they pay 100% on everything, and it really does introduce some real issues when you go that route. You would think everybody would be really happy and satisfied to get reimbursed 100%, but human nature being what it is, it just doesn't work out that way. I'm afraid to say. So I wouldn't be in support of any kind of scheme in which the state or any of our programs paid a full 100%. Even for the one simple reason that costs tend to rise a lot quicker in such schemes. So I think it's really important to have buy-in from the landowner, on these things. It really just changes the whole psychology of the program when they have some of their own money at stake. So those are my thoughts on this on today's topics. Thank you.
Well, thank you, definitely. And those are certainly points of discussion that we've raised often in regards to our climate goals and in regards to our programs. And I remember sitting in many technical advisory committee meetings with you and others, experience in New York City watershed and understanding the possible negative sides of higher cost share rates, as well as looking at ways that we can incentivize practice adoption. So we'd have to be very careful and consider all those are great case studies for what to do, for what to avoid, and for what to improve upon. So I really appreciate your comments. Thank you. And I noticed Ashley Incerello from DOH has also joined us. Ashley, do you have anything to add for the committee?
Right, and thank you, everyone. I always learn so much from these meetings, so I just appreciate you extending the invitation to me. I just wanted to give a quick shout out. So I'm the DOH lead for the Drinking Water Source Protection Program. It's a co-led program with DEC, and it's a voluntary program for municipalities to work with different stakeholders to create a drinking water source protection plan and come out with action items for implementation. And our Western region staff are working with the Chautauqua Lake communities. And they have, cannot say enough good things about working with the Cattaraugus Soil and Water Conservation District, who's been a member of the stakeholder group there. She's been a huge asset, so I just wanted to applaud that partnership and applaud the work being done there. So I just wanted to give that quick shout out to Cattaraugus County. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that very much. It's been great to join that team with DOH, DEC, DOS, and a lot of good work being done, and will continue in that regard. So appreciate that shout out. It's always great to hear. Thank you. Okay. Department of State, has Stephanie or Kate rejoined us? I know they had to step away for a little bit.
I'm back on. I don't know if Stephanie is. I see her name, but I'm not sure if she's here. I don't have much. I will say that the OWASCO 9-element plan, DEC and DOS both reviewed a early draft over the last few weeks and provided comments, and we expect the full draft to be ready for public comment in the next few months. So I know that a lot of soil and water staff were involved in that process, so keep an eye out. Similarly, I saw a very preliminary draft of the Seneca and Keuka 9-element plan, and I expect that to also be available for public comment probably a little bit later this summer. So yeah, just keep your eyes out. Lots happening in the Finger Lakes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Kate. Appreciate that update.
Yeah.
A lot of work. You said you saw Stephanie's name. Stephanie, have anything to add?
Yeah, I know she's still muted. She may have stayed on so she could jump back and forth between meetings.
Understood. Well, thank you, Kate, for that update. Appreciate that.
Yep.
I noticed that SUNY ESF was absent. In case anybody from SUNY ESF joined late, I'll just pause and ask if there's any comments there. And NRCS also noted is absent earlier, but not sure if anybody jumped on from NRCS. Okay, I'm going to go down through the roll call for staff updates. Vic?
Nothing to report today, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. PJ? Not sure if PJ had to jump. Ron Bush?
Sorry, Brian. Nothing to report at this point. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, PJ. Yep. Ron, I believe you have an update for us. CNP training?
Sure, thank you. So the last couple meetings, we've been kind of keeping the state committee up to date on our AEM, NRCS, CNMP trainings, and those were conducted last week at Cornell University. So we just wanted to kind of recap that session. We had about 20 folks in person, 50 tuning in remotely. Those come from our private sector planning organizations, soil and water conservation districts, NRCS employees. We had some folks from New York State DEC, along with some of our state committee staff. We just wanted to thank the Conservation Partnership that supported this for all of those folks. So starting out, there's no order here, but Cornell University, the facilities there, Cornell Cales, Pro Dairy, Cooperative Extension, and of course the ever supporting Office of Information Technology as we embarked on a remote session. Dr. Kieran Ketterings, Kirsten Workman, Abby Chrisman, Heather Darrow, Travis Johns, and ultimately Tom Overton helped us secure those and offer this training. NRCS, Val Podolic, Paula Bagley, Josh Verneski, Karen Hoffman, Dale Gates, and representing the Soil and Water Conservation districts in a great keys to successful planning perspective on certified planners was Tim Wimmer, certified planner from Oneida County. So we thank him and that district, and New York State DUC Sarah Latessa. So it was a great training. This supports folks that are going to pursue AEM and NRCS certifications at various levels like we talked about, and that's the update. So thank you, everyone.
That's great to hear, Ron. Thank you, and thank you, Greg and Brendan and the staff for all you do to lead and support that. Just as a reminder to everybody, as opposed to going into the virtual symposium when there were so many great classes already underway, we went off and planned, this hybrid version of the CNFP trainings. The first one that was offered since what year? Was it 19?
Yep, that's correct.
And great showing. That's a very comprehensive boot camp type course that is absolute soup to nuts, an AEM framework, and focusing on comprehensive nutrient management planning training, and it is a requirement for certification to become an AIM certified planner. So so glad to hear your update at our staff meeting last week, and glad that it went off without a hitch. But you did forget to thank one other entity at Cornell, and I think that was the dairy bar, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so great at Stocking Hall, great facilities, and right around the corner is their dairy bar that supports their students most of the time, but they had a heavy burden of soil and water districts and dairymen, so we hammered that pretty hard. It was wonderful.
That's what gave you the fuel to keep going. That's wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ron. And Brendan, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing to add other than I was very happy with how it all went down, and just kind of thankful to be a part of the whole thing.
Excellent. I'm so glad to have you be a part of that whole thing, and appreciate all your hard work and effort. Thank you very much. As I mentioned before, Greg is at the soil health meeting in Canandaigua. So Jennifer, do you have anything more to add for the committee today?
Yes, I'll just do a quick reminder that the AIM Leopold Award is open for applications. Applications are due May 1st, and we encourage all districts to be looking out for exemplary farms in their counties that they can submit applications for. It's a great award that receives some good recognition for the farm and the district and all parties involved. So, we encourage applications to be submitted. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for bringing that up. That's right. We will not be meeting again until after the deadline. So that is May 1st. All farmers eligible through their district to be nominated. And we've had some great nominations in the past 2 years, as this is year 3 of this award. So, if you've nominated a farm and they were a finalist, but they did not ultimately win the award, please consider a renomination. The form is pretty much the same as it was in the last 2 years. And any district that is also given a Conservation Farm of the Year award for their district, for their county, those farmers should be an automatic nomination for the state AEM Leopold Award. Thank you, Jennifer, for bringing that forward. Ben Luskin.
Yeah, Brian, I'll just say real quick that last week I sent out the state recommended rates memo to all the districts in the state that they should use when applying for different grant funds going forward this year, Part C and other such state programs. Those are for engineers, technicians, managers, and secretarial staff. I just want to clarify, however, for any existing open RFPs, such as for Ag Point and CRF, you need to use the existing rates that are published in those RFPs. Do not use the new memo that went out. But other than that, that was good. Those rates are compiled using the hourly rates reports that all the 58 districts submit to us, along with the rest of their reporting that's due on February 15th. All that data is compiled for all full-time staff in the state and averaged out to produce those rates to be used in various grant programs. So the numbers went up slightly for this year for most of the positions. I think engineering went up by $3 an hour. Managerial, technicians, and clerical went up by $1 an hour, and the senior technician rate, which is any technicians that have been in the position for over 10 years, that remained the same. But that's all I got.
Thank you, Ben. It's a lot of work putting all that together. We literally receive thousands of data points through all of the various reports that are submitted by that February 15th deadline, and a lot of which goes unanalyzed, and a lot of which we are reviewing and being able to garner a lot of good information from. So that report is also what I referenced earlier in regards to district staff personnel counts and average salaries. So good work, Ben. I really appreciate all that effort. And yeah, so and as far as the RFPs go, we have about a year lag, so catching up. The report memo that was just sent out will most likely go into the next rounds of RFPs for Ag Point, CRF, and AIM 18, which is a couple years out. So thank you. All right. Bethany, anything to add to the committee today?
Just wanted to mention that we have scheduled an April Technical Advisory Committee meeting for April 28th.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Bethany. And,
Thank you.
You know, it's very likely that, you know, for CRF expansion, we might break out into, you know, additional work groups for that. Usually the Technical Advisory Committee is what develops program policies, procedures, and we often have the same individuals from our advisory agencies help us with that and then help us to review and score applications. So it's a great subcommittee. If anyone on the line here isn't familiar and is with our statutory advisory committee organizations or agencies, please contact Bethany and we'll make sure we get you an invite. Also want to remind voting members, in the past, you know, based on the topic, we invite a voting member or two, can't be more than two, for quorum issues to attend those meetings. So I think you all also got the notice from Bethany. So consider that given the topics and you know, where you might be able to extend your expertise to some of those advisory discussions as well. Thank you, Bethany. Tim.
Yeah, I had to step away. Did anybody do a plug for Envirothon volunteers?
We're waiting for you, Tim. Please do.
Well, great. Envirothon is looking for volunteers. This is a environmental conservation education conference that happens. It's going on May 25th and 26th. On May 25th, they need a ton of volunteers to help judge the oral presentations and, you know, be timekeepers and graders and all kinds of stuff. An email went out asking for volunteers to the state listserv a couple days ago. If you're interested, even remotely on the fence, I say go ahead and do it. It's a good experience, and it's really you know, providing environmental education for next generation of, you know, workers for our field. If you need more details, you can email me or Mary Lynn Malone at I'm not sure where she is. Find her in the directory, or just email me. I'll send you the stuff. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Absolutely great plug. And in the past 2 years, this has been a virtual event. So this is back in person at Hobart William Smith out in Canandaigua. So beautiful campus, beautiful time of year. And we certainly have in the past seen a lot of our advisory members and reps from other agencies out there helping and volunteering. It's one of those things you come back from and say, wow, that was a good day. You really just gives a lot of hope for the future. So great plug, Tim. Appreciate that. Anybody who's interested, contact Tim and he'll connect you with the volunteers coordinator. Okay. Abigail.
I just put in the chat the email for the Envirothon. That's who I emailed to get connected with the resources to apply. So that's it. I don't have any other updates.
All right. Thank you very much, Abigail. And am I missing anybody on the staff? Anybody might have joined late? Okay, as promised, I see that we still have a pretty good participant list here. Anybody else, this is a public meeting, feel free to unmute and ask questions of the committee, give comments or reports.
Brian, this is Jeff Keogh. Now that I've got a better impression of how to update, let me break into some of the existing grants that I have really quickly. So one of the grant programs I have is land trust grants, and we're in the round 4 currently, and applications are due on June 24th. And the idea here is that we offer up to $50,000 to land trusts to help support municipal and county ag protection planning initiatives. Round 4 right now looks like appraisal projects. So basically, it's an undersubscribed program, but it's very valuable to the land trust and landowners that participate. The department's making money available to pay for appraisals on draft or mock conservation easement projects for farmland, farm operations. There's websites, and you can call me directly if you want to find out more. The deadline's June 24th. And we also have a new round of funding for town or county ag and farmland protection plans. So there's up to $50,000 available for counties to update their ag and farmland protection plans, and up to $25,000 for all towns who've not participated to develop an ag and farmland protection plan. So there's a lot of syllables there, but if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can fill you in. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for that update. Really appreciate that, and we'll certainly provide a good level of information in the minutes for folks to take a look at and contact you if they've got further questions or concepts or ideas.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Conservation District partners or anyone else from the public or other partners on the line? I think it's an obligatory 7-second pause. I think I met that, but all right. Dale, I think back to you for next meeting.
Yep, thanks, Brian. 17th of May. Does everybody think? Voting members?
May is always really, really tough for me, so I can't guarantee anything.
No worries, Darren. Appreciate that.
That works for me.
Thank you, Erica.
Yes, I think it's okay with me too.
Just Scott,
Thank you, Dave.
probably depends on the weather and how things are going.
Appreciate that as well. Well, we'll pencil that in, and we'll see how things develop, and you know, what issues need to be urgently addressed by the committee in May. And stay tuned, and perfectly understandable if we don't have a full quorum for that meeting. But
You'll be real close, I think. Anything else by anybody? Brian, anything else you got to cover?
no, I think I'm good, except for just stay tuned for May. You know, whether we need to go back to a hybrid option with the WebEx. We'll try to get that information out to everybody ahead of time.
Okay, great. Appreciate it very much. Thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned. Have a great weekend, or a great week and a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.